these symbols. This is the 82nd Airborne Division insignia, and that is the Combat Medical Corps badge.
Yes, doctor.
Nurses gossiped about Janitor's Army tattoos. Then the surgeon recognized them. Maria Vasquez pushed her cleaning cart through the surgical wing of St. Mary's Hospital at 11:30 p.m. Tuesday night, her rolled sleeves revealing intricate tattoos that sparked whispered conversations among the nursing staff. In 4 hours, when Chief Surgeon Dr. Michael Chen glimpsed those same markings during his morning rounds, recognition would stop him cold. Maria, 32, is a former Army combat medic whose decorated military career ended with invisible wounds that made traditional healthcare careers impossible. Her extensive tattoos tell the story of deployments across 3 continents, but to her civilian co-workers, they represent something far less honorable. What happened during the morning shift change would expose how quickly assumptions about service and character could be reversed when the truth about sacrifice and skill was revealed by someone who owed his life to steady hands that now cleaned floors instead of saving them. St. Mary's Hospital night shift in Sacramento, California, a 500-bed medical center serving diverse urban population with round-the-clock emergency services. The facility operates on rigid hierarchy, where medical staff command respect, while support personnel remain largely invisible to those they serve. The third shift environment creates its own social dynamics: skeleton crews, working overnight hours, reduced supervision that allows workplace gossip to flourish, and fatigue that can sharpen prejudices against those who don't fit conventional professional expectations. Night staff often develop closer bonds through shared isolation, but also create insular groups that can quickly turn against outsiders. Recent budget cuts have increased workloads while reducing job security, creating tension between departments competing for resources and recognition. Janitorial staff face particular scrutiny as expendable employees whose appearance and behavior must meet standards that medical professionals sometimes ignore. This setting represents the challenge many veterans face in civilian healthcare environments, where their military medical training goes unrecognized while their appearance triggers negative assumptions about their character and capabilities. Maria enlisted at 18 from East LA, becoming a combat medic with the 82nd Airborne Division. Over 3 deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan, she treated everything from routine injuries to mass casualty events, developing surgical skills under fire that rivaled many hospital-trained professionals. Her tattoos document her service unit insignia on her shoulders, memorial pieces for fallen comrades on her arms, and combat medical badge on her forearm. Each marking represents missions where her hands meant the difference between life and death for wounded soldiers who trusted her with their last breaths. PTSD and chronic pain from a roadside bomb injury ended Maria's military career, leaving her with disabilities that prevented traditional medical employment despite her exceptional training. Hospital janitorial work provides steady income with health benefits while accommodating her physical limitations and allowing her to work around medical equipment that feels familiar. She lives alone with her German Shepherd, avoiding social situations that might trigger anxiety, while maintaining connection to healthcare environment that reminds her of her purpose. Her night shift schedule minimizes contact with day staff who might ask uncomfortable questions about her background. Despite civilian employment below her qualifications, Maria retains all her combat medical training and instincts. She notices medical emergencies before trained staff can provide trauma care better than most emergency room nurses and understands hospital equipment from professional rather than custodial perspective. Her tattoos represent not just personal memories, but professional credentials that hospital administrators don't recognize or value. Maria's greatest strength is her ability to remain invisible while observing everything using situational awareness developed in combat zones to navigate civilian workplace dynamics that often feel more hostile than enemy territory. Maria must navigate civilian employment that underutilizes her exceptional medical training while managing co-workers' negative assumptions about her appearance and background. Her challenge is maintaining professional dignity while enduring daily reminders that her military service and medical expertise mean nothing in civilian healthcare hierarchies. The primary obstacle is institutional prejudice nursing staff, who view her tattoos as unprofessional administrators who see her as potential liability, and medical professionals who can't imagine that their janitor possesses medical training superior to many hospital employees. Each shift requires emotional strength to perform menial tasks, while surrounded by equipment she once operated expertly. The stakes involve both practical survival and psychological health. Losing her job would create financial crisis, but constantly suppressing her identity and expertise erodes her sense of purpose and self-worth, developed through years of saving lives in combat zones. Maria's decision to work at St. Mary's Hospital came from necessity rather than choice. Her military disability compensation covered basic living expenses, but medical bills for ongoing PTSD treatment and chronic pain management required additional income that accommodated her physical and psychological limitations. Hospital work keeps me connected to medicine without the pressure of patient care responsibilities, she explained to her VA counselor during job placement discussions. The familiar environment of medical equipment in emergency situations felt more comfortable than civilian workplaces that had no connection to her military medical background. The position represented both opportunity and sacrifice, steady employment with benefits that supported her treatment needs, but daily exposure to medical procedures she could perform better than many staff members who looked down on her custodial role. Each shift reminded her of capabilities she could no longer use professionally. Maria accepted knowing that her tattoos and rough appearance would trigger negative assumptions from medical professionals who equated appearance with competence. Her choice to work, despite certain discrimination, represented determination to remain connected to healthcare environment where her training had meaning, even if that meaning remained unrecognized by those she served. Maria developed strategies for managing workplace dynamics while concealing her extensive medical background from colleagues who might react negatively to discovering their janitor possessed superior training. She practiced deflecting questions about her tattoos without revealing their military significance or the combat experience they represented. Her preparation included studying hospital protocols and equipment from custodial perspective while suppressing professional instincts that might reveal her medical expertise. Maria rehearsed appropriate responses to medical emergencies that would allow her to help without exposing her advanced training to staff who weren't prepared to understand her capabilities. Most critically, She prepared psychologically for daily reminders that her military service and medical expertise meant nothing to civilians who judged her by appearance rather than accomplishments. Maria developed coping strategies for handling condescending treatment from people whose medical skills didn't match her combat-tested abilities. She arranged her work schedule to minimize interaction with day shift personnel who might be more likely to complain about her appearance or ask uncomfortable questions about her background. Night work also accommodated her PTSD symptoms that made crowded, noisy environments difficult to tolerate. Maria's medical training proved valuable for understanding hospital operations and equipment maintenance, though she was careful not to reveal the extent of her knowledge to supervisors who might question how a janitor knew so much about medical procedures and emergency protocols. Maria's first weeks at St. Mary's established patterns that would define her civilian healthcare experience. She arrived early, worked efficiently, and maintained professional behavior even when staff showed obvious discomfort with her heavily tattooed appearance and military bearing. Her supervisor, Bob Martinez, appreciated her reliability and attention to detail. Maria knows her way around medical equipment, he noted during her first evaluation, not understanding that her familiarity came from professional medical training rather than custodial experience. Nursing staff reactions varied from polite acceptance to whispered speculation about her background and the meaning of her extensive tattoos. "Those look like gang markings," suggested Nurse Jennifer Walsh during break-room gossip. "Should we be concerned about who they're hiring for hospital security access?" Maria learned to position herself to overhear these conversations, using situational awareness developed in combat zones to monitor workplace dynamics that might affect her employment security. Her military training made her hyper-vigilant about potential threats, though civilian workplace politics felt more complex and unpredictable than enemy action. The pattern established during her first month would continue. Maria would excel professionally while managing constant scrutiny of her appearance and assumptions about her character, based on visible evidence of military service that colleagues didn't recognize or understand. Night shift nursing supervisor Patricia Kim began receiving concerns from staff about Maria's appearance and its impact on hospital professional standards. "Those tattoos are extensive and visible," Kim noted during staff meetings. "Several nurses have expressed discomfort about working alongside someone who looks like she might have gang affiliations." Maria overheard these discussions while cleaning nearby areas, learning that her military service marks were being interpreted as criminal indicators by medical professionals who claimed to support veterans but couldn't recognize one when she cleaned their workspace. Hospital Administrator Janet Williams conducted informal observations of Maria's work performance after receiving complaints about her appearance from nursing staff who worried about patient and family reactions to heavily tattooed support personnel. "We need to maintain professional image standards," Williams explained during management meetings that Maria learned about through overheard conversations. Despite her exceptional work quality and reliability, her visible tattoos created image concerns that threatened her employment regardless of her actual performance or professional competence. The situation escalated when day shift charge nurse Rebecca Torres formally complained about Maria's unprofessional appearance, affecting staff morale and patient comfort despite no documented patient complaints. "She looks intimidating," Torres argued during administrative review meetings. Hospitals should employ people who project healing and comfort, not someone who looks like she belongs in a different environment entirely. Maria's military bearing and tactical awareness, developed through combat medical service, were being interpreted as threatening rather than professional by civilian medical staff who couldn't understand what her appearance actually represented. The complaints about Maria's appearance gained momentum as more nursing staff joined discussions about maintaining professional standards and appropriate workplace image. Social media posts from hospital employees began appearing with indirect references to concerning new hires who didn't fit traditional healthcare professional appearance expectations. Patient advocacy groups responding to anonymous complaints began questioning hospital hiring practices and whether support staff appearance might affect patient comfort or family confidence in facility professionalism. These external pressures created administrative concern about public relations impact. "We're getting community feedback about staff appearance," Administrator Williams reported during executive meetings. "Some families have expressed concerns about the appropriateness of visible tattoos in healthcare settings." The complaints created business pressure that threatened Maria's employment despite her excellent work performance. Hospital union representatives attempted to support Maria against appearance-based discrimination, but faced resistance from management concerned about community perceptions and staff complaints that created hostile work environment claims from multiple nursing personnel. Local veterans organizations remained unaware of the situation because Maria's co-workers didn't know about her military background, preventing advocacy that might have protected her from discrimination based on service-related appearance that civilian employees didn't recognize or respect. Facing systematic discrimination based on appearance while maintaining excellent work performance tested every lesson military service had taught Maria about honor under adverse conditions. Her combat medical training emphasized saving lives regardless of personal circumstances, and she applied those principles to civilian employment despite daily humiliation. The nursing staff's assumptions about her character forced Maria to confront civilian ignorance about military service and the meaning of combat medical tattoos that represented life-saving actions rather than criminal associations. Their prejudice revealed how little civilian healthcare workers understood about the veterans who might work alongside them. Maria's response to workplace harassment demonstrated character developed through military service. She maintained professional dignity while facing attacks on her integrity and worth. Her training emphasized mission completion despite personal discomfort, applying those lessons to civilian employment, even when co-workers treated her as criminal rather than decorated veteran. The discrimination crystallized her understanding of civilian-military divide. Medical professionals who claimed to support veterans couldn't recognize military service when it didn't match their stereotypical expectations. Maria's tattoos represented sacrifice and skill they preferred to acknowledge abstractly rather than encounter daily in their workplace. Her military identity strengthened under attack, reminding her that her worth wasn't determined by civilian approval, but by service to people who trusted her with their lives. As complaints about Maria's appearance reached formal disciplinary review level, Administrator Williams faced pressure to resolve the image problem through either appearance modification requirements or employment termination that would eliminate staff complaints and community concerns. The nursing staff's harassment campaign was creating documented hostile work environment that could expose the hospital to legal liability, but management's response focused on eliminating the source of complaints rather than addressing discriminatory behavior from medical professionals. Maria's exceptional work performance couldn't overcome appearance-based prejudice from colleagues who'd convinced themselves that professional competence was incompatible with visible tattoos that they didn't understand represented military medical service rather than criminal activity. Hospital security reviews of Maria's background check had found no criminal history, but couldn't access her classified military medical training records, leaving administrators with incomplete picture of her qualifications and service history that might have changed their perspective. The convergence of staff complaints, administrative pressure, and community concerns created perfect storm threatening Maria's employment, based entirely on appearance discrimination that violated both legal protections for veterans and ethical standards for healthcare institutions that claim to serve all populations with dignity and respect. During Thursday's administrative review meeting, Hospital Administrator Williams delivered the ultimatum that shattered Maria's careful civilian integration. "Maria, we've received multiple complaints about your appearance and its impact on our professional environment. You'll need to cover all visible tattoos completely, or we'll have to discuss alternative employment arrangements." The dress code modification specifically targeted Maria's military service markings, while allowing other staff members less extensive tattoos to remain visible, creating discriminatory policy that disguised veteran harassment as professional standards enforcement. Williams' language couldn't hide the reality. Maria was being forced to choose between concealing her military service or losing her employment. "These tattoos represent my military service and the soldiers whose lives I saved," Maria said quietly, her voice carrying across the meeting room where nursing supervisors sat with obvious satisfaction at her predicament. Charge Nurse Torres leaned forward. "Military or not, they're unprofessional and inappropriate for healthcare settings." Maria felt the familiar rage from combat situations where incompetent leadership made decisions that endangered everyone they were supposed to protect. 3 years of hiding her expertise, accepting condescension from people whose medical skills didn't match her combat-tested abilities, and enduring daily humiliation crystallized into this moment of institutional rejection. "You want me to hide the marks I earned saving American lives so that people who've never served can feel more comfortable," Maria said, her military bearing evident for the first time since starting employment. "I understand. My sacrifice for your freedom is less important than your professional image concerns." The room fell silent as Maria's words forced everyone to confront the reality they'd been too prejudiced to recognize. But the damage was done. Her career at St. Mary's was ending, based entirely on appearance discrimination disguised as policy enforcement. Standing in the administrative conference room with her military service finally exposed and her employment threatened, Maria faced the fundamental choice that would define her relationship with civilian healthcare institutions: retreat into deeper invisibility and accept that her sacrifices meant nothing to people who claim to honor veterans, or stand firm in her dignity and demand recognition for service regardless of its visible evidence. The safe path was compliance cover, her tattoos completely, accept that her military medical service would remain hidden and continue working in an environment where her expertise was ignored and her character questioned based on appearance alone. But Maria looked around the room at nursing supervisors who'd never provided medical care under enemy fire administrators who'd never made life or death decisions with wounded soldiers, and realized this moment represented every veteran who'd been forced to hide their service to accommodate civilian comfort levels. If I cover these tattoos, I'm telling every veteran that their service should be hidden to spare civilian sensibilities. Maria thought, feeling 3 years of suppressed military pride resurging. But if I stand here and own my service, maybe civilian health care will finally understand what they're losing when they discriminate against veterans. Her decision crystallized around deeper truth. Civilian healthcare institutions benefited from veterans' medical training while refusing to acknowledge the service that provided those skills, creating systems where former combat medics cleaned floors while less qualified personnel provided patient care. The ultimate stakes transcended her personal employment. Whether wounded veterans would continue accepting marginalization in healthcare settings where their skills could save lives, or whether they would demand recognition and utilization of their military medical expertise, regardless of civilian prejudices about military appearance. Maria made the choice that would transform her humiliation into honor. Instead of agreeing to hide her military service, she would educate everyone present about what those tattoos actually represented and challenge their assumptions about professional competence based on appearance. "You want to know about these marks?" she said, rolling up her sleeves completely to display the full extent of her military medical tattoos. Combat Medical Badge, 82nd Airborne Division, 3 deployments treating wounded soldiers under enemy fire. Her voice carried military medical authority that commanded attention. "This tattoo represents the field hospital where I saved 17 lives during a mortar attack. This one honors my medic partner who died providing medical care while I performed emergency surgery with bullets flying overhead." Maria's transformation from apologetic janitor to proud combat medic shifted the entire room's dynamic as administrators realized they'd been discriminating against someone whose medical training exceeded many of their nursing staff's qualifications and whose service had directly contributed to American military medical capabilities. Her courage in revealing her service forced everyone to confront their prejudices about veterans' healthcare competence and the relationship between appearance and professional capability in medical settings, where life-saving skills mattered more than conforming to civilian appearance standards. As Maria stood with her military medical tattoos fully exposed, explaining her combat service to the stunned Administrative Review Committee, she felt both vulnerable and empowered. For the first time since starting at St. Mary's, she wasn't hiding her military medical identity or apologizing for appearance that represented life-saving service under fire. Her military training provided psychological framework for maintaining dignity under hostile scrutiny. State facts clearly maintain professional bearing and never retreat from honorable positions regardless of civilian opposition. Maria applied combat medical lessons to administrative confrontation, treating the review committee's discrimination as a diagnostic problem requiring direct intervention. She prepared to detail her military medical training combat casualty statistics and ongoing expertise that hospital administration had been wasting while she cleaned floors, instead of utilizing skills that could enhance patient care and emergency response capabilities. Most importantly, Maria prepared to accept whatever consequences came from revealing her true qualifications: potential employment termination, continued discrimination, or administrative retaliation that could affect her health care benefits and financial stability. But hiding her military medical service had cost too much professional dignity to continue suppressing her identity for civilian comfort. The confrontation reached its peak when Administrator Williams, seemingly unmoved by Maria's service revelation, maintained her position. Regardless of your military background, hospital policy requires professional appearance standards that your tattoos violate. We need compliance or alternative arrangements. Her bureaucratic dismissal of Maria's combat medical service created immediate tension in the room as nursing supervisors realized they might be witnessing discrimination against a decorated veteran whose medical qualifications potentially exceeded their own training and experience. But the situation escalated when Chief Surgeon Dr. Michael Chen entered the conference room for his scheduled administrative meeting, immediately focusing on Maria's exposed tattoos, with sharp recognition that came from personal military medical experience during his own Army Reserve service. Those are ADA and Airborne Medical Unit insignia, Dr. Chen said quietly, approaching Maria's position. Combat Medical Badge Field Hospital Deployment Markers, Casualty Care Recognition. His professional assessment carried authority that transformed the room's dynamic as civilian administrators realized they'd been judging someone whose military medical credentials demanded respect. Dr. Chen's presence changed everything as his military medical background provided the recognition and validation that Maria had been denied since starting employment at St. Mary's Hospital. Dr. Chen's detailed examination of Maria's tattoos revealed extensive military medical service that none of the civilian administrators had recognized or understood. ADA 2nd Airborne Division Forward Surgical Team multiple deployment markers he cataloged with growing amazement. These tattoos document advanced trauma medical training and combat casualty care experience. His professional recognition transformed Maria from problematic employee to valuable asset. As Dr. Chen realized, the hospital had been wasting exceptional medical talent on custodial duties while complaining about appearance that actually represented superior qualifications. Ms. Vasquez, Dr. Chen addressed Maria with military respect that acknowledged her service and expertise. Your combat medical background represents training that most of our emergency staff lacks. Why are you working janitorial instead of utilizing these medical qualifications? Maria's response was military direct PTSD and chronic pain from combat injuries prevented traditional hospital employment, but civilian health care wouldn't recognize my military medical training anyway. Her honesty about both her limitations and the system's failure to utilize veteran medical expertise created powerful moment of institutional recognition. The revelation of Maria's extensive military medical training created immediate complications for hospital administration as they realized their appearance-based discrimination had nearly eliminated someone whose combat experience could significantly enhance their emergency medical capabilities and staff training programs. But the situation became more complex when Dr. Chen began questioning specific details about Maria's military medical service, asking about deployment locations, casualty statistics, and combat medical procedures that triggered powerful memories and recognition patterns. Forward Surgical Team Alpha, Kandahar Province, 2019-2020, Dr. Chen asked, his voice suddenly filled with emotion. When Maria confirmed her deployment details, Dr. Chen's professional composure shifted to personal gratitude. You treated wounded soldiers from the 3rd Infantry Division convoy attack outside Kandahar, multiple casualties, mass casualty event. Yes, sir, Maria responded, not understanding that her confirmation would trigger life-changing recognition from the surgeon whose own military reserve deployment had intersected with her combat medical service. Administrator Williams attempted to redirect the meeting back to dress code violations, but Dr. Chen's growing emotional response and detailed questioning about specific military medical incidents made it clear that something more significant than policy enforcement was developing. The pivotal moment arrived when Dr. Chen's questioning revealed that Maria had been the combat medic who saved his life during a helicopter medevac mission when he was wounded during his Army Reserve deployment, creating personal connection that transformed abstract military service into life-saving reality. You're the medic who kept me alive during that bird crash, Dr. Chen said, his voice breaking with emotion. Army Reserve surgeon wounded during transport, you provided emergency medical care for 4 hours until rescue arrived. His testimony provided concrete evidence of Maria's heroism that civilian administrators couldn't dismiss. The moment transcended employment discrimination to become broader recognition of how military medical veterans could contribute exceptional value to civilian health care when their service was recognized rather than hidden or discriminated against based on appearance. Maria's response showed military medical humility. Just doing my job, sir. Any medic would have provided the same care. But Dr. Chen corrected her, what you did saved my life and enabled me to continue serving patients. Your combat medical skills exceed most emergency room staff training. The conference room's atmosphere shifted completely as administrators realized they'd been discriminating against someone whose medical expertise had directly saved their chief surgeon's life, making abstract veteran support tangibly personal and professionally significant. Dr. Chen's personal testimony about Maria's life-saving medical skills provided educational moment about military medical training and its value to civilian healthcare institutions that too often overlooked veteran medical expertise. Dr. Chen's recognition of Maria's life-saving medical service created immediate transformation in how hospital administration viewed both her employment and their policies regarding veteran medical professionals whose military training could enhance rather than compromise healthcare delivery. His detailed testimony about her combat medical skills, advanced trauma care under fire emergency surgical assistance casualty evacuation procedures, provided evidence of qualifications that exceeded standard nursing education and could significantly benefit patient care and staff training. Administrator Williams faced complete reversal of her position as discriminating against someone whose medical expertise had saved their chief surgeon's life became professionally and ethically indefensible, especially when Dr. Chen began advocating for Maria's promotion to medical technician positions that would utilize her combat training. The breakthrough extended beyond individual vindication. Maria's recognition created policy discussions about identifying and utilizing military medical veterans throughout the hospital system, recognizing that their combat experience provided training that civilian healthcare couldn't replicate. Dr. Chen's advocacy transformed Maria from discriminated janitor to valued medical professional, whose military service became asset rather than liability in healthcare environment that finally recognized the value of veteran medical expertise. Dr. Chen's revelation transformed Maria from discriminated employee to honored veteran as hospital staff learned about her life-saving military medical service and began recognizing the value of her combat medical training for enhancing patient care and emergency response capabilities. Administrator Williams faced complete policy reversal, offering Maria immediate promotion to medical technician position with specialized training opportunities that would utilize her military medical expertise while accommodating her service-related limitations through appropriate workplace modifications. Most importantly, Maria finally felt recognized for her military medical service and could contribute her combat medical expertise to civilian healthcare, where her skills would save lives rather than waste away in custodial invisibility. Within weeks of Dr. Chen's recognition, Maria's story spread throughout the hospital system and broader medical community through professional networks that celebrated the rediscovery of exceptional military medical talent being wasted in custodial positions. Medical journals published articles about utilizing veteran medical expertise in civilian healthcare settings. Maria accepted promotion to emergency medical technician with specialized trauma training responsibilities, using her position to develop military medical integration programs that identified and utilized other veteran medical professionals working in underutilized positions throughout the healthcare system. The nursing staff who had discriminated against her faced mandatory sensitivity training about veteran integration and military medical expertise, learning that their prejudices had nearly cost the hospital valuable medical talent whose combat experience exceeded their own training. Hospital administration implemented veteran-friendly hiring policies that specifically sought military medical professionals and created workplace accommodations that enabled veterans with service-related disabilities to contribute their expertise while managing their limitations through appropriate support systems. 2 years later, Maria's advocacy work influenced healthcare employment practices throughout California as hospitals implemented veteran medical integration programs that recognized and utilized military medical training rather than overlooking it based on appearance or employment history. Legislative efforts emerged from her experience creating healthcare employment preferences for military medical veterans and workplace protections that prevented discrimination based on service-related appearance factors like tattoos that represented legitimate military medical credentials. Educational programs in medical schools and nursing schools used Maria's story to teach about military medical training, combat casualty care, and the value of veteran medical expertise for enhancing civilian healthcare capabilities and emergency response effectiveness. St. Mary's Hospital became regional model for veteran medical integration, hiring multiple former military medical personnel and creating workplace culture that celebrated rather than concealed military medical backgrounds and expertise that enhanced patient care. National healthcare organizations adopted Maria's integration strategies, helping other military medical veterans navigate civilian healthcare employment while maintaining dignity and receiving recognition for their combat medical training rather than discrimination based on appearance that represented legitimate service credentials. Maria evolved from isolated, underutilized veteran hiding her medical expertise to confident healthcare professional who celebrated her military medical identity while building successful civilian medical career that utilized her combat medical training for patient care and staff education. She completed additional civilian medical certifications that complemented her military medical training and became head of the hospital's trauma response team, where her combat medical experience provided leadership during mass casualty events that civilian-trained staff couldn't handle effectively. My tattoos tell the story of lives saved not just in combat, but continuing in civilian healthcare. Maria often tells audiences, military medical training doesn't end with discharge. It continues serving patients who benefit from combat-tested medical expertise. Maria's story proves that military medical expertise shouldn't be wasted based on civilian prejudices about appearance, and that healthcare institutions benefit significantly when they recognize and utilize veteran medical training rather than discriminating against the professionals who possess combat-tested medical skills that can save civilian lives. Today, Maria Vasquez serves as Director of Trauma Services at St. Mary's Hospital, where her combat medical expertise has revolutionized emergency response protocols and saved countless civilian lives through techniques learned on battlefields. Her military tattoos are now displayed proudly as she trains new medical staff in advanced trauma care, proving that the markings once whispered about as unprofessional actually represented the highest levels of medical training available. Dr. Chen remains her strongest advocate and collaborator, often crediting her military medical expertise with innovations that have improved patient outcomes throughout their medical system. The hospital's Veteran Medical Integration Program has become a national model, demonstrating that military medical professionals bring irreplaceable expertise to civilian healthcare when institutions overcome prejudices about appearance and recognize the value of combat-tested medical training. Maria's story continues inspiring healthcare systems nationwide to seek out and utilize military medical veterans whose expertise can enhance patient care, emergency response, and medical training programs in ways that civilian education alone cannot provide, proving that those who served in military medical roles have much more to offer than cleaning floors. They have life-saving expertise that belongs at the bedside, not hidden in supply closets.